Yeah, we've been working a lot on the Sansón, and we have the concerto competition coming up in a month. So continue to work on it, and there are some additional things I think you could do to help you to get to that level. Um, One is you could treat the piece like you've never played it before. Meaning, what do you do with a piece you haven't played before? Like, what are some of the techniques? You do what?
Um, Learn the notes.
So you may scrutinize the notes, make sure you have the right notes, a B natural instead of B flat, the right fingerings,
Rhythm.
rhythms. So what can you do for your rhythm?
Metronome.
Metronome. And, play at a slow to moderate speed. You also could investigate the bowings, because sometimes the bowings you could tweak them a little bit. Maybe a retake here or there, a cleaner bowing, maybe more a bowing that has more bow, less bow, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes we pull our bow too fast, or so understanding the bow speed, also the placement. And so maybe you're playing too close to the fingerboard, or maybe actually you want to play at the fingerboard if it's softer. Maybe there's another sound you want to investigate. Dynamics, right? So and the other thing is, as you get better and more knowledgeable about form and theory and formal analysis, try to apply what you know about music theory and analysis, and see it that way. See the music that way. So, if we were to do that, what do you see in the piece itself? How can you comment on the whole piece itself? Like, what do you know about it?
In what way?
The form, the it has three movements. Well, what's unusual about how they're connected?
There's not like a break.
So yeah, it's right, connected in a bridge. There's like transitions in between each movement, right? The second movement, I guess you could say, could be a standalone movement if you just start in that first measure, and end on that B flat chord. But each movement has a transition in and out of it. Well, anyway, first to second and second to third. And the ending is a coda, so there's a transition there to a coda, just to make sure we all understand. Okay, this is the end. Don't worry about it. There's no more. There's no cadenza. There's no nothing. So that's unusual, but a lot of pieces around that time had this form. There's one that comes to mind, the Bruch Violin Concerto in G minor. I don't know if you know that one, but a lot of people play it, and that kind of has that feeling. The Dvorak Violin Concerto has that a little bit too. So a lot of concertos, it seems, around this time in the Romantic period, had this quality, or had this form. So something that was being utilized, this form. Now, as far as the first movement is concerned, let's pick out some themes. So we have the theme that's, da 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 da. So in this theme we have, I guess, two parts: the triplet part, and then the half step part. Right. So it's pretty simple. One seems like it's meanders a little bit off the beat, and the other one is also off the beat with syncopations held over, with a dissonance feel, right? Like it's, you're feeling that half step dissonance. And does that for a while, doesn't it? He does that for the whole first page, and then we have that arpeggio sort of figure going up, and it's playing around the half steps. And here's where our analysis comes in. It's basically rooted on the dominant. All the way to the E. That's in 5 of 1, or dominant of A minor. And then the orchestra takes over a little bit, and then we have a transition in a way to the second theme, and we use some of the music from the first page, the triplet, and then now we have more chromaticisms. Instead of having half steps, now we have one half step. Now we have like a whole scale in half steps, right? And then we have dee da da da, dee da da da, right? So several half steps in a row, and then we have the slow theme, which is slow because it's slower. It has half notes and quarter notes, and then we use one little figure in G minor instead of E or dominant of A minor, to get us into a bigger transition, which is, I guess you could call some kind of development, or it seems like the end of the first section of the concerto, because then there's a big orchestra tutti, and then we have some more triplets, and instead of a half step we have a whole step, on that B to A, and then he kind of truncates that. Now, what does he do here? What happens in the sonata form? We have let's think of Brahms' E minor sonata. We have that theme comes back later. Do you know that piece?
Kinda.
But in some sonata forms, the first theme is taken out or bypassed. And what's the theme that comes back? We don't get the first page theme, the first measure. What's the theme that comes back? The slow theme. So, you may not be following me, but I want to teach you about this form because it's a good way to understand it. Even if you don't have labels for it, it's a good way just to know, like, hey, what's going on here? So, this is the theme, right? There we go. So he has all the elements or all the ingredients there to make the whole piece. Because then he does this, and he has. Right, so it's not stagnant because he went. It doesn't feel right. It feels kind of like it's committed to D minor. That makes you feel like, wait, something's going to continue, right? It's not a complete thought, and it's a transitional thought, I guess you could maybe call that. And then, of course, we have. And then we have right. So he's just using some of those figures, the triplet. And he uses that later, right? So everything on the first page, he's like, he's using it in some way. Going to the ending of that big scale, all that you could call that like kind of like an ending of the first section. I think it's in sonata form, it's like the ending of the transition of the exposition in a way. In concerto form, anyway. Then we have this thing. And what happens in a development? We have a lot of keys. It seems like the composers like to take ideas that they had composed in the first part and develop them. It's very simple. But how do they do it? Through rhythm changes, and especially through harmonic changes. Because we have like something D major, and then we're like in G major, then we're in C major, then we're like in some kind of E major, right? And then it seems like we're back in A minor. Right? And then we're in that transition again. So at this point, this is the end of the development, I guess. It's kind of ambiguous. But what comes after the end of the development is the first theme. So we should come back to it. See? And then he But he didn't. He goes to, and transition to that. What am I trying to say? Well, he economized really well in this form, because if you would have like made a huge concerto, like say Brahms violin concerto, Dvorak concerto, that is a bigger scale. Like there's more stuff there. There's a bigger introduction for the orchestra, and his introduction just one chord and go. It's like, here's the key, got it, okay, got it, go. You know, Dvorak concerto is like 3 minutes of the orchestra. Brahms is like about 3 to 4 minutes for the violin. Similar with some concertos for piano. So then after this, he has a transition to the second movement, and the transition is not necessarily continuous. There is a little pause. I mean, there's a like a little rest and fermata, whatever, and then you move on to the next one. But it is a harmonic transition because he's going into B flat major, so it ends on an F5 of B flat. So anyway, you see how all these things are very helpful to know? I think it's helpful because it helps my memory. And when you have memorization, when you want to memorize something, it's a good idea to memorize in several levels, so you can build some roots. People that memorize, maybe some people could explain it to you, but I think if you ask a performer, they're going to tell you that they think of several things all at the same time. So these are different levels. One of the levels is the form and analysis, formal analysis, the theory behind it, the form behind it, and seeing like how he takes one note, like 2 notes like that, right? This half step, this one figure, this motive, I guess you could call it, and how he puts that in to everywhere. See? Right, so there's a lot of that there. It's just hidden in there, right? And then of course the last one, it has it all the time. Right, has it there all the time. It's there, so he's like dressing it up, like with with the ornaments, written out ornaments. Just really should do that. See, that's the first one. Anyway, what am I really trying to say is going back to what I said, like it seems like 30 minutes ago, is that you should relearn the piece, attack it as if like you don't know anything about it. Of course you do, and you could sit down here and play it, but gain a new appreciation for it. If you don't have any idea about it, read an article about it. Do you know how to research things on internet?
Yeah.
Do you know about well, there's some things like Google Scholar that really help, but you can also go into the library and talk to Bruce and ask him to help you out how to research some of the databases. So you may find that someone wrote a doctoral paper on this concerto, and of course a student, and maybe not a famous person, but it's nice that you could look at a piece, a document like that, and see what they wrote about it. Like maybe they'll talk about the form, the analysis, the theory, and also you look at the bibliography, and you may find a couple of books that we have, and then you could read the books about that. I think there are some books. Oxford always has some really good books of short summaries of pieces. So it's not like you may find your answer, but it's kind of nice to research and find some answers and some questions really. And this is very helpful. It makes you build these roots. Now, it's if I know you, I know your face, I know your name, I met your mom. It's like I know some things about you, but it's not like I'm your best friend for 10 years and we've been hanging out every day, and that best friend knows you really well. There's that's roots right there. That's like something that's long lasting, and that's what you want to do with a piece. And just because the concerto competition is next month doesn't mean you never learn it again or think about it again. But do your best now, because later you'll understand what I mean. That these roots will stay. You'll feel it intuitively. So I encourage you to do that. All right, let's play all this G string scales. I need to warm up too. So are you in tune? So let's do a little warm up. Did you already warm up? Okay, so place your bow on a string. Now, wait. This is what I call pizzicato bows. See? On the G string. Wait, wiggle. D string. A string. Now down bow on A string. Good. Now let's do go. Pizzicato. Make them feel like pizzicato. Last one. Go to the C string. Really feel that. My hair like bursts, so really. There, it's better. Push down, wiggle. Yeah. Now, let's. I want to show you this feather touch. So I want you to rub the bow on the string like it's a feather, like this. Now, make those movements smaller and smaller until you feel kind of stuck. Yeah, but make a pizzicato sound. Watch. Let's do G string. And little by little. Little. Oh, just a little bit to the right. Yeah. You notice how little you need? I'm trying to prove that you don't need a lot to make the string ring. You just need the right grip on the string and the leverage. So, and you need a lot. I mean, of course you could play louder, but you just need a little bit. See? So it's something to think about, because sometimes we try too hard, and it'll help your left hand not try too hard. Okay, so now let's we're going to look at this in the class, but keep that piece of that handout handy for later. Now let's play ringing tones. I adapted it a little bit, so let me play and you play. Ready? Go. We're going to skip a few, so watch carefully. Now let's do this one. 4. What in between? Go back. No. You're there. On the bridge. Now C. 4. 3. Go. Harmonic. Go. Stretch. Yeah, do it again. Make sure it sounds the same. It's okay. You could those two are pretty easy to figure out. You also could do G. Try that. Go. Thumb. 3. The thumb. It's on there. Thumb. The thumb. Go. Harmonic. Too far. Yeah. Right. And then A is also possible, except on the C string it's not a harmonic. So try open A. Okay, good. So now let's play G major, G minor, A flat minor, major, minor, A minor, B flat minor, B, and B minor. Ready? Let's just do 4 slurred. Nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. A flat, go. A flat, major.
We're not doing harmonic.
Oh, let's do it. Okay. Go. You're a little flat there. Is that spin right? I know. I'm not like super expert at it. So if you had your book, I would recommend you to open it. Because I am just learning it, just like you. I'm learning it. So I am learning alongside you. Ready, set, this, what is on the top? Just open.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Yeah. Let's do that. Ready, go. It's something you need to stretch. Okay, go. Watch my hand. It's forward. Same thing here. In other words, your hand is here. My elbow is more forward, not extreme. But curve your fourth finger as much as you can. Relax your thumb and just relax your first finger back. Yeah, that's all it is. But put the weight on your fourth finger. And then you notice how light your first finger is when you have weight on your fourth finger. That's where you want to be. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Go. Again. What happens to our fat fingers up there?
I forgot it was F sharp.
Right, but also you need to be really, 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 really tight. Higher. So what happens? Remember, yeah, you have to kick. You have to go underneath. See, watch. Yeah, and it gets worse when you're up higher. So imagine this is like normal for violins. I mean, they're like their fingers are like this on top of one another. It's very difficult, but you gotta get used to it as well. So go. Sharp, go. Is that G sharp minor there?
Yes.
Is it G sharp minor?
Yeah.
Or A flat minor?
G.
Okay. Again. Do like. And. the common note. A flat or becomes G sharp, and then you can go from A flat to G sharp, and that's 7 of A major. And you just added E natural on the bottom, that's 5 of A major. So that's one way to do it. Or whatever, just make something up. It's okay. This is a very common thing to do. Okay, let's go. G, A minor, A major, go. So A major, you could do 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, but I think let's just go 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just keep it simple and go. Go. Those are notes you're just not paying attention to. Hear this, see? Hear it ringing? You need to hear it all the time. That's why we do the ringing tone. Really work on it, because that's, if you want to win the concerto competition, it's hard as being a cellist. It's like, you make no impression at all. They don't understand how hard it is to play the cello. Competing against violin or piano, and they just generally have better music. Just in general, because why? Well, Bach played the violin, Mozart played the violin, right? And then there are all these virtuosos hanging around, so Beethoven knew all these virtuosos. So did Brahms, right? And it's just easier to hear a violin. It's a soprano instrument. And piano, of course, every great composer played the piano somehow. And so, right, Brahms is known as a great pianist. Schumann, Rachmaninoff. To see what we have to deal with. So if you're not in tune, it's like, yeah, it's good, but it's out of tune. It has to be super in tune. It's hard. I can't say that I'm perfect, or that I'm still trying. I'm still learning how to do it. But I could tell you, if those notes are really there, it's noticeable. We're gonna get people who play in tune. Like there's a piano judge, right? There's a conductor. You know what I mean? So they're used to tune in tune. So give them what they want. A minor, and this is natural minor? No. I mean it's melodic, right? Ready? Yeah. If you do this right, you can hear a high A. Here. Now come back, E natural, go. How you put your finger down, you're not really putting the weight down in there. Each one has, the weight's always there, and you transfer the weight. I don't know if you. We must have done this last time. Like this. Like, hold me. Hold me. Yeah. So here's the weight. I'm transferring the weight. Notice the weight doesn't shift. I mean, it doesn't reduce. It doesn't go like this. It stays there, and then I'm just shifting from one to the other. It's weight. Transfer the weight. I mean, you're a certain amount of weight, and you're the same weight here, and you're over here. Just transferring the weight. Super easy to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your end pin is kind of bending a little bit, that's one way to understand that you're doing it right. Yeah. Without the thumb. Don't put the thumb out. Don't squeeze. Yeah. See? Okay. Melodic minor. Ready? Do your fingering. I'm just.
No, we were supposed to do harmonic. We already did melodic.
I was doing harmonic.
You said melodic.
Oh, sorry. Well, let's do. Let's do that one. Ready? Go. Sorry. When you do this, you're doing this. Right, you're lifting here. Do you see me doing that? Do I keep reminding you not to do that? Yeah, you gotta fix it. You're not gonna get better. You're gonna stay stuck like in a 10-year-old body, but you have an adult mind. That's like that movie right there, Big. You know that old movie with Tom Hanks? You need to fix that. Not this way. This is what the Rockettes do. See from here. Lift. Harmonic, ready, Okay, you really need to learn these because it's mandatory, and second, you're just going to get better. You need to learn the patterns, and the patterns just repeat. And sometimes there's a couple of differences, and you memorize the differences. You understand? You can't. How do people sight read better? How do people play better? Well, one is they practice a lot. I guess you could say they just practice. It's like if you're just shooting baskets every day and playing basketball, you're probably going to be okay at it after a while, right? But there's some techniques into basketball, right? How to shoot a free throw, for example. Consistently make it. Shaquille O'Neal was terrible. But, Kobe Bryant was pretty good because he could do it. He practiced that. I mean, he probably stayed there like an hour just like shooting free throws. Why? Well, it made him $1 million, several million. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the more you do this, the easier it gets to read music. It's like you have all the patterns memorized. This is why we do it. Well, one big reason. The other big reason is for your intonation. This is and your fingering, like steady fingering, because you'll never rise above the level you are now unless you learn it. And learn them slow. You don't have to go fast. Even if you do all of them just at 4, 3, or 2 slurs, even slower, that's fine. Because what we want to do is the slow motion. Did you read that article about Stephen Doe? I recommend highly recommend you read that. It's for you, for example. You need to read that. Because if you want to be a performance major, he's basically saying in there that, students come and they play well, they play one piece really well, but they don't have really good foundation. And, so that's hard for me because as a teacher of high school students, you want the high school students to do well, but you also want them to get into school, so it's like we're kind of stuck in the middle. But what often happens to students is that they go off to the conservatory and they have to start all over because they have a lot of tension and they don't play freely, and so meaning free of that unneeded tension. And then their growth is stunted, and oftentimes they develop problems, tendinitis, carpal tunnel, and that it confuses them and makes them go off track a little bit, and a lot of people change their majors because of this. So, if people change their majors, they have total rights to do that, but, let's not make that a possibility because of injury and stunted growth. You want every possible, you want a free route, clear route to success, is what I'm trying to say. Really learn them, because then you're going to be just doing them, practicing them. The step check too is super important, because those two things, it's like really could define how you play. Like if you did that for a whole year, 2 years, you won't have any problems. Really, it's true. I mean, think about 2 years compared to 50 years of playing cello. It's like nothing. See, you have to do it sometime, and this is the investment you got to make. It's really important. And you got a month, well, less than a month now, for the concerto competition. Well, it is a month, right? Because it's on the 29th. So we got a month. So that means that you could still, you could really improve on it. Now, let's play the whole movement. First movement. Perform it. Just use thumb here on A string, thumb. Keep going. Thumb. That's better. Now at the end, when you're doing those ups, it may be a little slow compared to the beginning tempo, so just make sure it's not too slow. you try that? Ready? And one. Ba-dee-da. Ready? Do that again. Buddy, the last one. You're slowing down. Understand? It's no pausing, no nothing. Okay? Right there. Buddy, 1, 2, 3, 4, go. 1, 2, ready, and go. Buddy, now it's too early. Buddy, ba-bum. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and go. Ba-dee-da. I'm tapping half notes. Ba-dee-da. And don't rush. Yeah, so and I wanted to also say you're going. Alright, so just keep it even. You have to roll that chord, but don't show that you're cheating on the eighth notes before the chord, right? Just play it like and catch up later. Here, if you need to catch up. Otherwise, it sounds like you messed up on the chord. Okay, good. This is sharp. That's why I suggest think of it like a separate thing, and play with bigger bows. Can you play from here? Loosen up your body right at that moment. Forte. Remember we talked about those half steps. If you just plop down your fingers, it's going to be sharp. You have to. This finger is almost on top of the other one. Okay. Let go of the other fingers, yes. One finger. Yeah, more accent. Again, almost. Again, go. One more time. Today you've been playing flat. It's just common today. Ready? Okay, longer E. Okay, so now the whole. 2, ready, and. And it, remember, take more time right when you get to the G. It's more dramatic and it's going to help your notes. Ready? And. Smile. Do it again by yourself. Ready? And. Yeah, watch my bow. Can you play it? More bow like saw away. semi is in the recital hall. Do you know where the finals are?
No.
In the big hall. They don't hear anything there. It's like hello. You gotta like show more energy. Right? It's in the recital hall is gonna be fine, but still you gotta practice for that big space. Okay. Next, you have a class at 10?
11.
When you this is a spot where the double stops, for example, relearn them, play them like we did before on G and D string. Gonna stop A and D string, and the double stop. Also, your bowing is not often helpful. So you could play like this last thing when I say play with more bow, for example. That's a spot that you can play with more bow. Sometimes you're in the wrong spot of the bow. So for example, here. See how much bow I'm using? No one's gonna hear you. And then, see? Retake. Yeah. If you want to slur, you gotta play with a very short bow on the bottom, note B, and then. Don't rush. Can we try that? From the second page. Ready? And go. All the way to frog. Frog. So that you could feel the distance, and that distance will equal the time, meaning kind of like you're conducting, you go up and down, right? You understand? Like you feel it in your body. Think about your body and your legs. Don't think about your notes. I want you to play the notes, yes. But you're thinking about the notes and then you're not thinking it. This has to be the most important thing. 1, 2, ready, go. You understand? See how your fingers followed your body? I mean, you felt it. Now, can you go back to 2, ready, go. just don't rush. Just what you already said what you had to say up here. This whole thing is just like the transition. It's actually relaxing a little bit. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and go. You were right. You're doing it right. That's why you're stopping, because you don't understand. You're also, every time you play 3 fingers, you need to relax the other fingers. They could be on the string, but don't push all of them down. Ready, set, and go. You were right. Why do you keep stopping?
I don't know. It feels like I'm skipping the G.
No. You just played perfect. See, you got to do that thing with the feet. It really helps. Closer half steps. Yeah. And then from that, it's kind of like when you throw a pebble into a pond. There's a ripple effect. So this is the throwing the pebble this here. And then this is the ripple. Right, just like rip. So you could be in tempo, but it's not totally correctly in tempo. You just have to, when I'm trying to say, don't go too fast. So make sure the 8th notes feel like a little bit more trombone-like, kind of thing. Okay. If you go too fast, then the triplets definitely will be out of control, and maybe that's what's happening. So here's the last thing is for this section is think about how this ripple effect is affecting you. Meaning, is it making you go faster because you're like too fast in one section? And then you go from triplets to 8th notes, and 8th notes just don't sound like 8th notes, they sound like triplets, or at least they sound a little faster than they should. You see what I mean? So next is notice how your bowing was better when you use more bow. You had more sound. Doesn't mean you press harder. It just means you play with more bow. And that's one of the factors that you need to work on. One of the techniques. When you're playing up in a higher position, you gotta try to play with one finger, weight on one finger. Your vibrato will be better. You have less tension, unneeded tension, because you have 3 points of friction now. Tight. You don't need that. What else? Oh, you need to work on playing extensions. Now, it's like 2 shifts in a row. You don't want that. See? Extend. This is what 6th graders do. Not what a professional does, okay? Fix it, please. These are the things I tell you to fix all the time, and then you don't. So either you're not listening.
I don't do that.
You do that. I want me to show you on the video. You do that every time. Yeah.
That's what I.
Yeah, but you did a shift. I mean, I heard it. Yeah. I'll show you the video.
Oh no, I believe it.
Yeah. So fix it. So you have to. How do you fix it? Well, it takes some effort, because like I have bad habits, and I listen to myself like, why do I do that? And it takes a lot of effort to fix it. Now, is it the case that you never would do that? I could say there'll be some music, like kind of cheesy music, that maybe needs like slides everywhere, like a tango or something, you know what I mean? But not in this piece. And just not as a general like rule of good technique. So you want to use the bad technique for special moments, quote unquote bad technique. Because sometimes, you do want to have a really sultry slide somewhere, because that's what you feel the music's like. Especially like if you're singing, you're playing a song that has words, and it's sometimes like it's hard to make the melody come out because we don't have vowels and consonants, and there's no words. It's hard to bring out the meaning. So sometimes we do something special with the bow or the finger to make it sound like we're singing. There's where you could use that technique. But you just, a habit you haven't got rid of. Okay? Okay, you need to practice this every day and make it sound like really amazing, because getting into the finals is going to be hard. Because there's one pianist, and as long as she plays the right notes, it's a great piece, Grieg concerto for piano. For us, if we play the wrong notes, really obvious. It's obvious for them too, but she has an advantage because it's a cool piece. And violin, I mean, Clara has that piece and it's very impressive. So you have to be equally impressive. Now, you were impressive at the prelims. You just have to keep getting to the next level, because the next set of judges will be different. We won't be there. You understand? So I think you need really to think about that. Don't get lazy. Also, think about how this could help you for summer festivals, because we'll keep playing this piece, and you send a video for like a summer festival, and now you're going to be at a really good level for that. So always think ahead how you could double up on things, triple up. As a performer, if we can have a concert with Beethoven trios, you may want to play those in the few months before that somewhere, somehow. If you have a concerto, like Saint-Saëns concerto, you may want to play that. Like on Sunday, I'm playing it at a friend's house for some guests, just to mess up a little bit in front of some friendly guests and have some cookies and cake and stuff. You know what I mean? Just have fun. You understand what I'm trying to say? You need to figure this out for yourself. Okay, thank you.